Hello dear student, myself Sucheta Bidwe. I am working as assistant professor in Department of Botany at HM College. Today we are going to start with two series of lecture on bamboo culture. You have already opted this course for the extra credits. Today we are going to see selection and raising of planting material. Before planting or before cultivating bamboo, we have to produce a planting material like a seedling or small plantlet. And for from today's session, we are going to start with the methods of selection and raising of planting material. Agenda of today's session is introduction for different methods of selection and raising of plant material. Then propagation, there are different methods of selection and raising of plant materials like propagation from seed, use of seedlings, use of offsets, vegetative propagation, and use of tissue culture in order to produce plantlets for the production of bamboo. Learning objective for today's session are describe the different types of propagation methods, and second one, demonstration practical applications of different types of propagation. So today we are going to see different methods of propagation in the bamboo. Students, we know that in order to produce a number of or cultivate any plant like fruit plant, flower plant, we have to produce seedling or plantlet before propagation. The production of seedling or plantlet is the first important step for the propagation of any kind of plant for any kind of economically important plant. Likewise, for production of bamboo, growing of small plantlet or seedling is very important. So mainly the growing of bamboo, cultivation of bamboo is always start with obtaining initial material which is known as initial material for the planting. For example, if we want a mango from the plant, we have to plant a plantlet. Okay. First of all, there are two ways. We can plant a seed of mango directly, or we can plant a plantlet of the mango. And both, when grow completely, will going to produce a mango fruit. Likewise, for the propagation, for the production of bamboos, we have to initially select a planting material. We have to produce a planting material on large scale, on a large amount in order to propagate bamboo commercially. So that here is also for propagation of bamboo, we can select four different types of propagation or for the production of the plantlet of the bamboo. Traditionally, this can be done by using seeds of bamboo, by using seedlings of bamboo, by using offset or stem cutting of the bamboo. When we talk about the propagation of bamboo, bamboo can propagate sexually as well as by asexual method or by vegetative method, or we can propagate the plant by using laboratory techniques like plant tissue culture technique. In sexual propagation method, there are production of seeds. The seeds produced on the plant we can collect in a proper season. We are going to sow that seeds in the nursery and then we'll get the plantlet. Or otherwise, we can use a vegetative part, or we are going to use a sexual reproduction, a sexual type of reproductive method for the propagation of bamboo. So, students will see one by one method of propagation of the bamboo. The first method, which is known as propagation from the seed. Now, everybody is familiar with the seed. What is seed? Seed is nothing but the small reproductive structure which is produced after flowering in the plant. After sexual reproduction to the plant, the reproductive structure born is nothing but the seed. This seed is having presence of embryo, and this embryo is having presence of, we know that, radicle and plumule. So when we sow a seed of plant, we are going to get the plantlet of the plant. Okay. So So same thing, bamboo is also belongs to angiosperm, has having ability to produce flowers, it has the ability to seeds, and therefore these seeds are collected for the planting purpose. Now, the seeds which are produced in bamboo are having some specificity. The seeds are having very less viability. Viability, in very short period we have to germinate or we have to sow that seed in order to get the plantlet. Otherwise they are not going to sow or they are not going to grow after some period of time. Okay, so mainly viability is a period in which seed is having ability or seed can be grow into plantlet, and therefore in case of bamboo the viability of seed is very less, and therefore after flowering immediately the seeds should be collected and they should be sown immediately, and this leads to production of plantlets of bamboo. These plantlets of the bamboo are stand up to 1 year. They are allowed to grow up to 1 year in order to get the better established culture. Now we'll see step by step method of bamboo propagation by using seedling. Initially, we have to collect the seeds of bamboo as early as possible into the flowering season. In the flowering season, after collecting the seeds, we have to sow that seeds in nursery bed immediately. After sowing the seeds, a thin layer of soil should be put on the sown seeds, and then we have to water the seeds, the nursery bed daily, and afterwards within some short period of time we'll get a plantlet of 3 centimeter height. Then after 3 centimeters step we have to wait or we have to uh, transfer that seedling, that plantlet into the proper growing medium from nursery bed. Okay, so what are the steps? Initially we have to sow the seeds, then we have to put a small layer of soil onto the seed, then we have to water that seed daily, and afterwards when the seedlings are grow, when they attain a height of 3 centimeter, we have to transfer that plantlet into the growing medium carefully, and after 3 to 6 months we'll get a good size of our transplant. This transplant were allowed to grow for at least 1 year, and within 1 year we'll get the mature culture, mature plantlet of the bamboo which are ready to sow to transfer into the field for the commercial production of the bamboo. Okay, this is about the production of production of plantlet by using seeds into the bamboo. The next method is use of whittlings into the for the propagation of bamboo. Now, when we talking or when we are saying whittlings are nothing but the part of the plant which is having capacity grow widely. Okay, grow in very large scale, grow in very large amount, and such a type of structure of bamboo are present under the soil. They are having capacity to produce a large number of plantlet within a small period. Okay, so this underground part, that is this underground whittling of the plant, should be collected from the young cluster of the bamboo, and then they are nursed into the nursery bed, and we are going to wait or we have to wait up to rising or we have to grow up to the growth of the seedling. We'll see what are the exact steps for the propagation of bamboo by using whittling. Initially, we have to scoop out the young cluster of bamboo whittling from the soil. Okay, now again I will tell you, whittling is nothing but a structure which is growing in very large number and which has a capacity to produce new entire plant. Okay, so initially we have to carefully dig out the young cluster of bamboo seedlings, then we have to separate that cluster and we have to prick it individually into the pot. Okay, so what we have did, we have to dig out the seedling, then individually have to separate each seedling from the cluster, then we have to put or prick so into the pot that individual seedling of the bamboo and keep that pot into the shade. Okay, what is important here, after transferring the seedling into the pot, we have to keep that pot within the shade only. Okay, and then we have to water that plantlets or growing seedling, water regularly, and afterwards within short period of time we'll get a grass of bamboo. Okay, so afterwards we'll get a plantlets of the bamboo. Near about it requires a 1 year old structures or of plantlet can successfully transfer within the field. Okay, so this is about the preparation or the steps for the preparation of plantlets of bamboo for the production of bamboo commercially. Now we'll see the next type of the propagation of bamboo, that is propagation of bamboo using offset. Okay, so we'll first see what are exactly offsets. Offsets are the reproductive structure. Okay, offsets are the reproductive structure which are small in size and which are completely resemble to mother plant. Okay, a exact copy of the mother plant who is having ability to reproduce or to again regrow into whole plant, and then it, but still these plants are attached to mother plant only. In diagram you can see that there is one larger shoot that is nothing but the mother plant of the bamboo, and near that mother plant there is a small plant, small offset, which is exactly similar to the mother plant and which has a capacity to grow into new plant, but still it is attached to the mother plant. Okay, so by collecting such an offset in rainy season, we can get a new shoot from this type of offset. So we'll see what are the exact steps in order to use these offsets for the production of plantlet of bamboo. So initially we have to dig out this offset of bamboo. This bamboo offset, in order to get the proper offset, we have to dig out the rhizome up to 3 to 60 centimeter below ground. Okay, so initially we have to dig out the rhizome who is up to the 30 to 60 centimeter below the ground, and we have to select that offset very properly. In order to select the offset, we have to first see the color of stem. If the color of stem is dark green and if the stem is of 1 to 2 year old clump, then and then only we have to select that offset. After selecting offset, we have to dig out and we have to take that rhizome properly. Now, at the time of digging, we have to take care that we should not cut or we should not disturb, we should not injure or damage any portion at the junction of clump and rhizome. Just like, see, we can see in a diagram the junction between the rhizome and shoot. Clump, we can consider clump here as a shoot. The junction, the merge point of shoot and rhizome should not be damaged. We have to protect that part very carefully in order to get the more and more amount of bamboo plantlet. Okay, so after digging, what we have to do? We have to cut the stem or aerial clump up to the 60 centimeter. Okay, and again in diagram you can see here the cut should be taken in slanting angle. Okay, after cutting that aerial part up to the 6 centimeter in length, we have to cut the rhizome from the parent clump, and then we have to separate out that offset from the mother plant. Now this separated offset, now we have to transport it to the planting site. It might be a pot, it might be a nursery bed. And after planting that plantlet into the planting site, we have to water that rhizome regularly. And then within some month, we'll get a very good plantlet, and a 1 year old structure or plantlet of the bamboo are used for the as a plantlet, and they are ready to transport into the field. Okay, this is about the third method, which is but the propagation of bamboo by using offsets. Now next important method is vegetative propagation. Now as the name indicates, vegetative propagation. Now vegetative propagation means the method in which only vegetative part of the plants were involved in the propagation. What are the vegetative part of the plant? These are the leaf, stem or root of the plant. Now here in case of bamboo, we are going to use the vegetative part, which is nothing but the stem or clump of the bamboo, in order to get the new plantlet of the bamboo. In order to get this plantlet from the bamboo, we are going to select 1 to 2 nodal portion of the stem or clump. How? We'll see that one by one. Now, when we talk about the vegetative propagation method, it is very well and better source which are having capacity to produce 800 to 1000 new plantlet at a time. This vegetative propagation can be achieved by using offset. Just now we have seen what is offset, and it can be achieved by simple stem cutting. The clump can be referred as a stem or shoot. The simple cutting of this clump can achieve to produce, has ability to produce a plantlet. But in case of the exotic species, this production of bamboo is possible. In warmer climatic condition, the exotic species can be used to propagate by means of vegetative propagation. But in cooler area, there is requirement of greenhouse only. Okay, for growth of bamboo plantlet, there is requirement of little bit warm conditions, and therefore in cooler region, the use of greenhouse is always recommended. Now, in case if the greenhouse is not available, then we can use a locally assembled polythene tunnel in order to produce the plantlet. We can see in a picture there is use of one tunnel covered with the polythene sheet, and below that tunnel the new cuttings of the stem were sown. Okay, initially what we have to do, you can see in nearer picture the cutting of bamboos were sown, and on that we are going to put the tunnel, and that tunnel will going to cover with the polythene sheet. This is a regular method which can be practiced if there is greenhouse is not available. By using such a polythene tunnel, we can prepare a plantlet of bamboo. Now we'll see how exactly the vegetative propagation can be achieved by using clump cutting. Again, I will clear, clump is nothing but root of bamboo. Now, this multiplication of many species is possible by using such a clump cutting method. It is very faster method as compared to offset or use of seedling. Offset, that is rhizome with attached stem, are commonly used, but still the clump cutting or the cutting of nodal sector or shoot is very popular in order to produce the plantlet of the bamboo. But at the same time, the extraction of the bamboo is bit difficult in this method, but still it is a very popular method. Now we'll see what are the steps in the clump cutting for the propagation of bamboo. Okay, now in case of clump cutting, we have to ensure initially the stem, the clump should having presence of new buds at the nodal region. Every shoot, every stem is divided into two important parts, which is nothing but the node and internode. At the distance between two nodes is referred as internode. Now, at the nodal part, there should be presence of dormant buds. Okay. Now, the clumps which we are going to select should be in the range of 2 to 3 years for the process of cutting. Remember that we should not use very young stem because it has a presence of very soft tissue and that can be get decomposed, rot due to their soft nature. And if we use too old stem, then it lead to no growth. There is no production of shoot or root readily because the tissues are bit hardened and hardened tissue can't grow immediately as compared to a proper age clump. So at the time of selection, we have to take two important precautions that age of clump should be 2 to 3 years and we have to see or we have to select the clump which is having presence of dormant buds only. After selecting a proper age clump, we have to prepare a double node or triple node cutting. After making a double node or triple, now simply I will first tell you what is double node and triple node cutting. We have to take a simply shoot having presence of two nodes or three nodes. After double node or triple node cutting, we have to make a small hole at the middle of two nodes with using sharp tool like knife or any type of cutting tool. But remember that between the internodal part is nothing but the present between two nodes, the part which is present between two nodes, nothing but the internode should utilize for the preparation of hole. The hole should not made at the nodal part. Why? Because at nodal part there is presence of dormant bud which are going to raise into new plant. So for that we have to select a plant, then we have to prepare a double node or triple node cutting and then we have to make a hole at the mid of the two nodes by using sharp tool. Now this cut section of the stem we have to place in nursery bed in horizontal position. Now remember that we are not going to place that shoot or cutting of stem clump we are not going to place in vertical position. We have to place it in horizontal position only. During preparation of this nursery bed, we have to use a soil and sand mixture equally and we have to prepare or we have to put that cutting separately with 6 to 10 centimeter distance horizontally. Now at the time and afterwards we have to put a small layer of soil over that stem cutting. Now at the time of cutting and keeping we have to remember one thing that we have to always place birds at the nodes or branches on the sideway which are facing in upward direction, never in downward direction. The birds which are present at the nodal part should face in upward direction. They should face towards the sun. They should not face in downward, that is, it should not face towards the soil. Okay, so after putting these plantlets or this cutting on the nursery bed, we have to wait for some time for 2 to 4 months, and within 2 to 4 months we'll get a very good amount of plantlets from this stem cutting. Okay, or we can see here we have to cut the tip planting and it should be faced towards the sun, not towards the soil. Okay, now there is one specific duration from layering to splitting. Splitting, growing of stem. For this duration, we have to, this duration of layering to splitting is always depend upon the species. It depends on ability of rooting of that specific species. The average time for this rooting is 2 to 4. Within 2 to 4 months, we are going to get a, it is a stage or it is a time required to process from forward from layering to splitting. Under ideal condition, in sustainable warmer and with adequate water, exotic species shoot and root radially. But some other species, indigenous species like some indigenous species like Dendroclamus, Hamiltoni, and Bamboo vulgaris require some more time for the rooting, and it requires some more time to shift from layering to splitting. Okay, and at the time of cutting, we are always preferring double node clump type of cutting. This is picture or diagram which shows the single or double node type of cutting. Now, during or within this method, we can promote the rooting and sprouting type of ability. And this rooting and sprouting type of ability can be grown by using different type of hormones. Here, we can use hormone. We can treat that clump cut with the help of hormone, and then we are going to get a good rate of rooting and sprouting. For in order to treat that plantlet with hormone, we have to do some steps. These are the some steps we'll see below. In first step, we have to prepare one small opening at the internodal part. In diagram, you can see between two nodes. See in diagram, you can see there are presence of three sections of that small cutting. That cutting is cut slantingly at the two ends, and both ends are cut in slanted position. Now, you can see there are two separating lines which are referred as nodal part. There is presence of dormant bud at that nodal region, and between this node, the portion is referred as internode. And at that internodal region, we are going to place or we are going to pick one small hole, one small opening. This opening should be 2 by 1 centimeter, and we are going to prepare at the many internodal portion, we are going to prepare such a opening. Now at this opening, we are going to place some hormone like NAA. Now, in order to give treatment of this NAA, there are some small steps. Initial, this NAA is always available in powder form. We have to take 10 grams of NAA, and we have to dissolve this NAA in 25 ml of ethyl alcohol, which should be a 95%. Afterwards, we have to make a final volume of this NAA up to the 100 liters. Okay, so we'll repeat it again. We have to take a 10 gram of NaA, then we have to dissolve it in a 250 ml of 95% alcohol, and then we have to prepare a final volume to the 100 liters, so that we'll get a stock of NaA, which is nothing but the 100 mg per liter of the water. Now this 100 mg, out of this 100 mg per ml stock, we have to take 100 ml for each hole. We have to take that 100 ml of NaA, and we have to pour that NaA into that small hole. Okay, after pouring 100 ml of NaA solution into the clump cavity, we have to wrap that cavity with the help of polythene strip very tightly. And after wrapping, we have to place that cutting into the nursery bed. Again, at the time of placing this cutting into the nursery bed, we have to keep in mind the bud should be facing towards the sun, not towards the soil. And we have to place these cuttings in horizontal position only. So we are going to place these cuttings on the nursery bed, which are generally 1 meter in wide, and then in the separately, and by keeping a separated sorted distance, and we have to wait for 3 to 4 months. Within these 2 to 3 months, we are going to get a good number of plantlets from these same 30. Remember, this is most efficient method and low cost method for the production of bamboo plantlets by using clump cutting. Okay, so this is about the vegetative propagation by using clump cutting. The last method of getting a number of plantlets for the bamboo cultivation is tissue culture method. Again, we all are familiar with the word tissue culture. Tissue culture, it is nothing but a laboratory method in which we can take a small amount of tissue from the mother plant and we can use that small amount of tissue in order to get the thousands of plantlets from that small amount of tissue. Now, this is nowadays these tissue culture techniques are acting as a good alternative to produce bamboo plantlets on a large scale. In case of the exotic species as well as in case of indigenous species, for both these species, this method can be useful. In this method, a small tissue from the mother plant were extracted and then they are multiplied in the laboratory under aseptic condition. And it leads to in repeated subculturing, transplanting, hardening, and then growing into nursery beds. We are going to get n number of plantlets by using a small tissues from the mother plant. But the most important drawback of this method as its cost level is very high. It requires high technology, it requires aseptic condition, it requires a skillful staff in order to produce a number of plantlets. And at the same time, it is required some knowledge of technical things as well as it is having a it requires your skill and therefore it it takes local people away from. Therefore this type of methods were not more practiced by local producers and they are always preferring the vegetative type of propagation for the production of plantlets by using mother plant. So this is about the last method, that is production of tissue cultured plantlets in from the mother plant. Now on this topic we are going to talk in detail that in that topic we are going to see what is laboratory method of production of bamboo plantlets, what are the exact steps, how the skillful labor is required and what are involved technology we'll see in the separate lecture. Okay, so this is about the fourth method of production of plantlets for the bamboo commercial cultivation. Now we'll move towards the summary of the lecture. Today's lecture we have seen what is propagation of bamboo, how the plantlets of bamboo are going to produce, what are the types of propagation of bamboo, how we are going to get a plantlet. We have already seen the different type of the propagation are propagation from seed, then use of seedlings, then use of offset, then vegetative propagation, which is most popular method for the production of bamboo plantlets, and finally use of plant tissue culture technique for the production of plantlets. Thank you so much. If you have any query, you can catch me on my email, that is suchetabidve@kthmcollege.ac.in, or you can ask to our Google Class.